the show. I'm Victoria Turner, and this is the amazing Vintners and Vineyards of San Diego. And today we're doing a panel on the women winemakers of San Diego. To help us talk about women winemakers, we have here Denise Clarke. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Susanne Sapier. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you guys could come, and you're both women winemakers.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
And both of you own your own wineries.
We do.
And both of you brought toys to play with. So Denise, can you tell me what some of these toys, oh, well, first tell me about your winery. You're the president of?
Altipiano Vineyard and Winery. I co-own it with my husband, and I am the vintner. I make the wine.
You make the wine. This is the big one. That one's yours.
Yes.
Yes. And Susanna, what's your winery?
The Grand James. We're in Ramona.
Because we only do San Diego wineries here.
Yep.
Yes. And you own the winery.
I do. Yep.
And who does the tasting?
I make the wine.
You make the
and
wine.
Yep. And then I guess I taste it, and then helping my customers taste it.
Ah, and what are the fun toys that you brought for us?
Well, we brought a couple of things. This is a titrator that you can manually titrate your different science, like your SO2, which is, you know, the levels that's in the wine, and you can also check for, I'm trying to blank you.
How about here?
You can do your tritable acids.
Yes, tritable acids.
Yes.
And did you both go to school to learn these things? How did you learn this stuff?
I learned on the job and with plenty of mentors. I would say that Michael Moore of Ramona Ranch comes to mind. You know, going to a lot of seminars and learning on the job how to titrate and how to take my different science levels once the wine comes in. Some of the things that you're looking at are some of the beakers that we would use.
Ooh.
For example, I would
Precisely.
put some of my wine in here, and then this right here, if I'm during crush, I may use this to use my additives that I'm going to put into the wine. And this device right here is a wine thief that you would use to go into your barrel, and basically it's like a suction, so you would just hold it in there and pull the wine out to extract it. This cylinder right here is another device that we would use when we're getting ready to do our bench trial for blending. This little, you have different size beakers for different tests that you're going to run. So typically I use a 50 milliliter beaker to do my titrations with, and that would be this little guy, I think, over.
Oh, he's hiding over there. Yes, yes.
So it's just different beakers for different things. I normally put my wine in here because it's easier just to pour it into the cylinders and to test with for bench trials.
So how did you start as a vintner to start with?
Our journey started, I had an avocado grove. I had about 900 trees, and in 2007, the wildfire, Witch Creek wildfire, destroyed our avocado grove. We had gone to Italy in March of that year and fell in love with southern Tuscany and the Brunellos and the Barberas, and pretty much that's what I focus on, are Italian varietals. 2,600 of my plants are dedicated to the Brunello clone, and then I also have Barbera. So I focus on Primitivos, Nero d'Avola, Aglianico, Super Tuscans, Barbera, and Sangiovese.
And Susanne, how did you get into the business?
We were living in downtown San Diego and then decided to make a change. And Ramona had just gotten its AVA, so we did the...
Most people know what an AVA is, so go ahead and say that.
American Viticultural Association.
And that's a big deal. It defines a specific area and the types of wine come out of that microclimate.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's why you decided to select Ramona specifically.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And
So you knew you were going to buy grapes and become a winery person?
We did. We moved to Ramona with the intention. So we found a piece of property and put vineyards in, and built a tasting patio and making wine.
So talk to me about the first woman winemaker you ever met.
Was a woman who still owns a winery she has her tasting room on Main Street, so Jennifer Lane was the first one I met, and was just struck by her happiness and enthusiasm for it, and she's still there and making great wine.
And Denise, who was your first woman winemaker?
Dorothy Schiller. She's in Paso Robles on 12th Avenue, and her winery is named Borghesa. Dorothy was just instrumental in showing me different oaks, and one in particular was the Hungarian oak that she uses for her profiles of her wines. She was just amazing. She, as you were saying about Jennifer, she was just very enthusiastic, and she would always just give me a ton of advice, and there was one time she even allowed to help me blend with her.
You're kidding.
That was fun.
Wow, that's very generous. And that's one nice thing about women winemakers is they want to help each other, right?
Yes. Absolutely. You couldn't do this business without the collaboration of people in the industry, and that has been women as well as males. I mean, I think you would say that we have had a tremendous amount of camaraderie and assistance from, people you would never think of. It's not the competitive. I came out of corporate, so I understand that competitive edge. I was in human resources for a number of years, retired from that. But I have found that the wine industry has been very giving in terms of helping you get to that next level. And we couldn't do this business without that camaraderie.
Is that what you find, Susanne?
Oh, very much. So I joke. So the two names on the label, Grant and James, are my son and my dad for their help. But when I joke that there should be 200 names on the label, honestly, all the people that have helped and all the friends, and yeah, I couldn't have done it without everybody. I mean, you definitely can't make wine by yourself.
No, but it's really networking as well. It's not just friends and acquaintances, but it's people in the industry as well.
It's the community that rallies around you. We both I've lived in my community up in the Highland Valley area for 20 some odd years. When I first found my property, it was just this little diamond in the rough, and everything that you would see coming to our vineyard is a creation that my husband and I built together. And the beauty of it is I have a daughter and 4 grandkids, so that's going to be their legacy that I could leave that to. And
this is something I said earlier, that the very first woman winemaker they know is you.
Absolutely.
And with your son as well. Yeah. And in fact, isn't he following in your footsteps?
He's helping. He's actually looking to more move the business side of winery. But yeah, he's been tremendous. As I left, he was attempting to wire up a pump for the irrigation.
Oh, that's irrigation important. And
yes.
You have a daughter in the industry.
I do, and she, as with Grant, she is taking up the administrative end of it, so that affords me to be out in the vineyard. There's nothing like footprints in the vineyard, and for me to be down in the cellar where I really enjoy doing that. But I also enjoy meeting the people that come up to our winery. I think the biggest gift that we received was one time we had a customer come up, and you could tell she was troubled. And my husband was he loves to tell his stories and jokes. And she asked if she could go out and just sit out on our point that overlooks our vineyard. And I went out to check on her, and she had fallen asleep. That was the best compliment I could have gotten. And for someone to have felt that relaxed at our home and our vineyard. And that's the thing, people are coming to our home. This is where we live. This is our lifestyle. It's not just a job. It's something that we love and have a total commitment to.
That's amazing, amazing. Now, 100 years ago, there really weren't women winemakers, but today that opportunity is unknown.
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up. I recently discovered that my great-grandmother was a winemaker.
That's cool.
I know. It was my father. We were having a lovely conversation, and he started chatting about how his grandmother, which would be my great-grandmother, used to make fruit wine. And I said, well, when were you going to tell me this? I knew my father always had an impeccable palate because he was just an amazing chef. But to learn that my great-grandmother, that, I don't think the fruit falls that far from the tree. So that was pretty amazing to find out.
It runs in the family.
It runs in the family.
Yeah. Well, the next winery, you can name it after her now.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
One day I'll have to name a bottle of wine after her.
Oh, that'll be a good idea.
So, where do you see the future going for women winemakers?
Oh, the sky's the limit.
Oh, yeah, limitless.
Yes.
And why is that? I mean, 100 years ago, your great-grandmother would have had a winery.
I don't think even 20 or 25 years ago, I don't know that they would have. You know, and it's kind of three avenues. There's the agriculture, the grape growing, there's the winemaking, and then there's the hospitality management side of it. And I think all three of the areas are open to women.
I do too. I think that, well, women are just pioneers. I think that it's taken a lot of hard work on both women as well as men to create the environment where women can excel. And I think that opportunity is now. Our daughters, you know, encouraging our daughters to go into the science and the math and where they feel comfortable in competing in those areas.
Yes.
Seeing their mom or their grandmother. I started in this industry at 54. I just turned 63 last Friday. So.
Oh, happy birthday!
Thank you. I's a March. But, you know, but it's a testament also for my girls as well as my grandson that there is no age limit on what you can do if you have the desire and passion to get it done.
Absolutely true. And you're the president-elect of the Ramona
Valley Vineyard Association.
Valley Vineyard Association.
Yeah.
Tell me how they support the vineyards in their area.
Very supportive. So again, it fosters the community. There's an educational component, so an education about the vineyards. For example, somebody had a question about mulching, and then they go on to the group emails. Everybody fires back with their ideas or their advice about mulching. There's a winemaking component that we're actually working to strengthen. And then, you know, in terms of business, marketing, advertising, you get much more of a collective force, much more power when you all do it together.
Absolutely true. So tell me, what's a typical day for each of you ladies in your... Okay, not today, because here you are on TV. But, what was yesterday?
I think for me, it's, you know, not only working in the business, but working on the business. So we were actually joking about what a typical day looked like. You know what? We start early. I got to get all my emails done, meet with staff, talk about what's going on in the vineyard, and then I kind of work on cleaning up the tasting room. Every day is a little different. Like we had a special group come through yesterday. I just got replacement plans delivered today. We're building a new patio. So every day, and that's part of what I like about it too. You know, working for myself and then the difference in it.
And what's a typical day for you, Denise?
My typical day starts about 6 o'clock in the morning, letting out the dogs and feeding the cats. But after that, I'm going through my emails. I have a full-time worker that comes in about 7:30, 7:45. So our day could either be, okay, we're bottling today, so you need to get all my pumps ready and you know, disinfected and set up the bottling line to start doing bottling. Or just a couple weeks ago, we were final pruning, and because of all this rain and because of the cold, we had to wait. And that's part of being the farmer.
That's frustrating.
Because we were looking at weather reports. Typically, we would have already final pruned, but knowing my own land and understanding just the different weather pattern we were having, we held off. And I was fortunate that we did, because the temperatures dipped down to about 29 degrees, and that could have been
a negative impact on the wine.
Negative impact on the vines. But we just finished that, and we've had our first spraying for powdery and downy mildew. You know, it's not if something's going to attack your vineyard, it's when. So you have to be very proactive and on top of it. And so once you start that final prune, those little beautiful babies just wake up, and it's just like this gorgeous little symphony. happening.
It's a lot of multitasking, which women are
A
good
lot
with.
of multitasking, yes.
So
yes.
talk to me for a moment about this picture that you brought in. Can you go grab that? Can you reach it?
Yes.
Oh, that's very cool. Whoops. So what is it's going on? This is the most gorgeous, is that aeration?
This is a decanter. This was taken 2 years ago at SomCom, and there was a gentleman there taking photographs of all the attendees, and he had all of these cool gadgets. So this was kind of difficult to hold.
Yeah.
Because it was awkward, you had to really kind of cup it. But it actually poured the wine really beautifully into this glass. But it was very focused that I didn't drop it. He had a lot of swords and everything, so I just really kind of, I wasn't expecting this picture. So when I saw it, I said, oh wow, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. And then I would like to talk about the picture that you brought, Susanne. Let me go grab that. And we were talking about competition, and this is a beautiful picture of you out in the vineyard.
So I guess it's going to turn into a plug for San Diego Home and Garden.
Yes.
So this is an ad campaign we ran with San Diego Home and Garden, and the genesis of this picture. So when we prune, you want to, when we harvest, you want to harvest the grapes really cold. So that means you start really early. You start like 4:30 in the morning.
Really?
Yep. Because you want them to be.
I'm not going to be joining you. I'm so sorry.
And it's, you know what? It's a bucket list item. I get all these people who want to pick grapes. They do it one time, and then I got to make a whole new set of friends over here. And so by this time, it's about 6 in the morning. It's still kind of dark. And the editor of San Diego Home and Garden is walking down out of the parking lot. I'm talking to a really good friend of mine from Kensington, and he goes, "Is that Doug Moore's voice?" Turns out Doug had been his roommate in Ohio State freshman year. World. And that I don't know that I'd recognize my college roommate from 40 years ago's voice in the dark on the other side of the country. But he did, awesome. And then that was the genesis, and then they brought their photographers out and did the shoot. And
oh, very nice, very nice. But one of the things I like about this picture is that you're showing all of your wines, and I want to talk about competition. You guys have some award-winning wines. Let's talk about those.
I've got the Syrah here. So we had just entered a competition. It's kind of a competition season for the wineries. And this one just medaled at Toast of the Coast, so that's a component of the Del Mar Fair. And so I thought it'd be fun. So I'm getting, these are estate grapes, and then I also...
So estate grapes mean all of the grapes that go into this specific wine are grown on a specific location?
The location that you own, and then you can also work with growers, and so I've got some growers that grow Syrah. So I've blended the two together, and then that's what you're seeing in this one. But it tastes like Syrah, that nice kind of berry medley taste, I call it.
That's wonderful. And what about your
small bottle?
So the last competition that for 2019 was Syrah and my Petite Syrah. The Syrah grapes came from Orfila, which is in San Pasqual, AVA, in San Diego. And it's 85% Syrah grapes, which 15% of my estate Petite Syrah. And then the Petite Syrah is very interesting. It's 2 barrels of my estate Petite Syrah with 4 barrels of Petite Syrah from Amador County. And these are old vine Petite Syrah. So I've got warm weather, cold weather that's gone into that bottle. His soil is limestone, and my soil is decomposed granite with organic. So you've got this really big, earthy, inky, full-bodied, big tannins. And I just love big reds, so that's kind of my focus. So I was pretty proud of that. But this competition was San Francisco Chronicle. So we're going up against Napa, Sonoma, Paso Robles. We're going up against some pretty heavyweights. And so to medal there is just like with Toast of Coast is a big deal. We're up there among our peers and other competitors. So
nobody can say that women winemakers aren't making a big impression.
I know, we're making an impression. San Diego County gals are making an impression, but so are the guys. I'm very, very proud of the winemakers here in San Diego County. They are doing a tremendous job, and a lot of them have helped us through, some of the challenges. And it's very tedious and hard work that goes into making a bottle of wine.
Sure. How many hours would you say went into this?
Oh, gee.
Oh, yeah. Well, you consider that the fruit set happens the spring before, right? And then it ages a minimum of 2 years, preferably 4 years. You test it every year. It tested every month in the barrel, right? You're going to test for your SO2. Then you age it for a couple years in the bottle. So hours.
Endless.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah.
Years.
Yes. I don't know how you can afford to sell it this inexpensively, quite frankly.
Well, part of our job, though, we have to go out down to the cellar and taste wine. We have
I'm
a really
so
hard
sorry.
job.
I know.
Dear.
I know. But when you start at 8 in the morning, it feels like work.
Yes,
Well,
it does.
there's not a lot of wine I could drink
And we're
at 8 in the
tasting
morning.
and spitting. We're
Yes,
not tasting
yeah.
and drinking it. No,
Yeah.
we could never get through the whole day.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me, when somebody shows up at your tasting room and you welcome them into your land, your house, your home, what kind of questions do you get about your wine?
Well, a lot of people will ask me whether it was estate grown or, or ask about the wine. We have a description of each varietal. We also pair each varietal with music. People ask me a lot of time, why do I get winemaking? And I think I'm still a student and will always be a student, but there is something very musical about winemaking for me. I started playing music when I was 6, so really, I'm not kidding, the vineyard sounds like, when it's just at bud break, it's like Mozart, and then when it's, full harvest, is total Beethoven.
And Susanna, what about yours? What kind of questions do you get?
We get all kinds of questions. People want to know how you started, what kind of wines you make. They want to know where the grapes originate from. And then, you get the range of people. You get people who almost apologize that they've never tasted wine before, to people who have extensive collections and cellars and are looking to cellar something. So you get the whole range.
Yes.
So what would you tell a woman winemaker starting out today? I'm coming to you and I'm saying, look, I want to do a wine. I want to do what you do. How do I get started?
I would say first and foremost is to just find out what you love and align yourself with people that you trust that can mentor you. You don't really know what your style is going to be when you first start out. You just don't. I still don't. I'm kind of on that track, but I'm with, like a little toddler with training wheels on, and I know it knowing enough to be dangerous. But I think that you don't have to start out saying, I want to grow this particular varietal. It does help that you may like that varietal, though. I think that you need to drink a lot of different wines and do your research. Figure out, do you want to grow Rhone? Do you want to focus on Italian? Do you want to be Spanish varietals? Or do you want to just do some of the more obscure varietals that no one has ever heard of and just really get great at it? So I think first and foremost, I would start out by seeking out some really incredible women. People open up to you all the time. If you ask the question and you show that you're interested, they will open up to you.
They will. Yeah. Is that what you find, Susan?
Oh, absolutely. I think I would tell, what I'm working on right now is I'm trying to find grapes that I think are best suited for Ramona. So I've been doing some work with UC Davis to find kind of what grape is right for us. Find a mentor, find someone that you can work with in terms of winemaking, try to identify your style. And it takes a while. Like I'm coming in at a little bit lower alcohol. I'm going for grapes and wine that's really well balanced. But you don't know that at first. You don't know it until you've been making it a while. Right. I like wine that's refreshing with an herbal note. It took me a while to be able to articulate and identify what it was I was actually doing with my yeast and barrel choices. And yeah. So that's what I would tell someone.
Okay.
It takes
and
a while.
In the last 4 or 5 minutes, 3 minutes, minute and a half, what wineries here do you like in San Diego? I know you've been drinking it elsewhere.
Oh, I have to give out a plug out for my other fellow winemaker, Janine Schnorr. She's of Highland Valley Vineyards. There's 7 wineries in Highland Valley. There's Cordiano, myself, Domaine, Espinosa, and Speckle Rock, and ZXQ. I support a lot of them, yes, as well as the Ramona wineries.
Yeah.
And Susanne, whose wines do you like?
You know what? I go to Ramona Ranch. They're good friends, Michael and Terry over there, and Hatfield, and then Old Julian. There's eventually going to be 9 wineries just on Old Julian. So, and then this weekend we're taking 30 wine club members down to Valle de Guadalupe. So they've got an incredible scene going on down there in Mexico in terms of wine and food.
Terrific. And every April you guys have a special event. Talk to me about that really quickly.
So we've got Meet the Winemaker, and that's fun. You get to go into the cellars. So the cellars are open. You stop by, you can go in, you can do a barrel tasting, you can talk with the winemaker, see their equipment, ask them specific questions about their winemaking.
And that's a fundraiser for?
Oh, it's not really a fundraiser. It's just more an event because the winemaker isn't always in the cellar on Saturdays and Sunday afternoons.
Ah, yes, of course not. And are you guys involved in that as well? Do you open your cellars up?
Oh yeah, mine will be open.
And you're going to go down there and go visit us.
Yeah, she is. She's going to help make her work.
I'm going to help. I'm normally a worker bee. No.
So how many vineyards are involved in that?
I think we have about 10 signed up. 10 cellars that'll be open that weekend.
So is it possible to do all 10 on the same day? Maybe not.
No, you probably need to do it over the course of 2 days.
2 days.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. Well, this has been Powerful People of San Diego. We have here Denise Clarke with
Altipiano
and Susanne Sapier with Grant James. Grant James, 2 women winemakers who are successful in their own right, not only as women and as winemakers independently. And I'm so glad that you guys could be the beginnings of the women winemaker movement here in San Diego to inspire our youngsters coming up. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's been wonderful having you.
Thank you.
Bye now.